Glenwood Heights was supposed to be peaceful. That's what the brochure promised: tranquil living, tree-lined streets, quiet neighbors, and strong HOA leadership. At the time, that sounded like a good thing. Someone to keep the place orderly, keep the lawns trimmed, and the garbage cans tucked away. But no one told me that strong HOA leadership was just a nice way of saying one woman ran the neighborhood like a dictatorship. Her name was Karen. Of course it was Karen. From the moment I moved in, she had her eyes on me. First, it was subtle. The long stares from her porch. The questions about whether my mailbox matched the HOA's paint code. The not-so-subtle hints about what kind of people usually owned sports cars like mine. She never said it outright, but the way she looked at my Mustang made it clear she hated it. Maybe it was too shiny, maybe it was too loud, or maybe it was just mine. I bought that car after working double shifts for 3 years straight. It wasn't just a car, it was freedom on 4 wheels, midnight drives, windows down, music blasting. It was the first thing I bought for myself that didn't involve bills or groceries, and I parked it in my own damn driveway. That's when the notes started. Folded paper taped to my door. No envelope, no signature, just typed out letters with a passive-aggressive tone that practically dripped with entitlement. Please be mindful that garage parking is preferred for the sake of community aesthetics. Some residents have voiced concern about sports-style vehicles being visible from the street. I ignored them. I checked the HOA rulebook line by line. There was nothing about parking in my own driveway being against the rules. This was Karen flexing, testing me. Then things escalated. One morning, I stepped outside and found my trash cans overturned, their contents strewn all over the sidewalk. A raccoon, maybe? Except raccoons don't usually smear coffee grounds on the side of your house. A week later, my mailbox was bent forward like someone had backed into it, or pulled it with force. But the final straw came on a Sunday morning. Bright, sunny, birds chirping, fake peace while I sipped my coffee and walked outside only to stop dead in my tracks. My car was wrecked. A thick, deep key mark sliced across the entire passenger side, all the way from headlight to tail. Not a little scratch. This was intentional, aggressive. It screamed of bitterness. And right above the rear wheel arch, a dent about the size of a fist. Not from a door bump or accident. This was done on purpose. I didn't scream. Didn't even swear. I just slowly turned back inside, set my coffee down, and went straight to my laptop because 2 weeks earlier, after the trash can incident, I'd installed security cameras, discreet ones. One at the porch, one facing the driveway, one under the gutter near the garage. Motion triggered, night vision, full coverage. I clicked open the app. There she was, a figure creeping into frame in the middle of the night. Hoodie pulled up, flashlight in one hand. She didn't even bother with gloves. She looked around, looked straight at the Mustang, and in a move that made my stomach twist, she reached out with something shiny and dragged it across the paint in one long slow motion. Then she turned, stepped back, and slammed something into the rear panel, and walked off, like nothing happened. My face was burning, not with rage, not yet. What I felt was colder, because Karen had no idea. She'd just signed her own public humiliation. The worst part wasn't the damage. It wasn't even watching the footage of her doing it. It was knowing she did it with confidence, like she'd done it before. Like she believed no one could touch her. Maybe she was right until now. I watched the video 3 times. I zoomed in, pause, enhance. That was Karen. No hoodie could hide the shape of her walk or that stupid rhinestone leash in her back pocket. She brought her dog with her. For God's sake, left it tied to the mailbox while she committed felony vandalism, and the tool she used wasn't a car key, was a screwdriver. A flathead, gleaming under the moonlight, gripped tight like she was carving her initials into a tree. It was deliberate, methodical. She even glanced around before slamming her purse, or maybe a brick inside it into the rear panel, like she was checking a box on a chore list. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was scared, because I was thinking this wasn't just about the car. This was a war for control. Karen didn't like things she couldn't regulate. And my car, my presence, my unwillingness to fold under her little rulebook empire, that threatened her. But unlike Karen, I didn't need to get my hands dirty. I had footage, crystal clear, time-stamped, and I had something even better: restraint. Most people would have called the cops right away. I didn't. Not yet. The next morning, I drove the car exactly how it was, key mark, dent, and all straight through the neighborhood at 10 a.m. Everyone saw it. I waved to the joggers, nodded at the dog walkers, pulled into the gas station at the corner and waited while people stared at the gash down the Mustang's side like it was a crime scene. It was then I went home, parked it right back in my driveway, and left it there. By noon, Karen came marching down the sidewalk. She didn't even look at the car. Her gaze was locked on me as I watered my plants. That fake smile stretched tight. "Morning," she chirped, too loud. "Looks like someone vandalized your car." I didn't take the bait. "Looks that way. Did you call the police?" "Not yet." She paused, blinked. "Oh well, that's surprising." I met her eyes. Let the silence sit for just long enough to feel uncomfortable. "I've got some good footage from last night," I added casually. "Surveillance stuff, high def." Karen's smile twitched. "Well, Hopefully you caught something helpful, she said, then turned sharply and walked away, yanking the dog along with her. That night, I uploaded the video anonymously to Reddit. Our Justice Served captioned, HOA President Keys, my car at 2 a.m. Guess she forgot about security cameras. I went to sleep by morning. The video had 47,000 views. By afternoon, 180,000. People were furious. Comments poured in like a flood. She needs jail time. That's destruction of property. What kind of psycho takes her dog on a vandalism trip? Name and shame. That lady's a menace. Someone even slowed the footage down and highlighted the moment she smiled, called it the Karen grin of doom. By the time I stepped outside that evening, 2 neighbors were whispering in hushed voices at the corner, glancing back and forth. Between Karen's house and mine, I didn't say anything, just gave a little nod. This wasn't over, it was just getting started. Because I hadn't shown the HOA board the footage yet, and Karen had no clue that her entire reputation was about to shatter frame by frame. By the time the video hit 500,000 views, people started digging. It didn't take long for someone in the comments to recognize the neighborhood. The HOA sign was barely visible in the background, but Reddit has a way of seeing what no one else does. Someone posted a Google Street View of Glenwood Heights. Another person who either lived nearby or just hated HOAs posted the exact address of the clubhouse. And then came the name Karen Templeton. Someone found an old HOA newsletter with her full name on the board list. Vice President Dusk. All it took. The next morning, her Facebook profile disappeared. Then her LinkedIn. But not before screenshots were taken and shared. Suddenly, every post about HOA abuse had Karen's face attached. She became a meme. The internet dubbed her Scratching Karen, and someone edited the video with dramatic music, slow motion, and red arrows pointing at her weapon. I didn't share the video myself, never commented. I stayed quiet. But I watched and I waited. On Thursday, I showed up at the HOA board meeting. Same clubhouse, same plastic chairs, same awful powdered coffee. But the air was different. People were tense, whispering. All eyes shifted to me as I walked in, some curious, some cautious. But everyone was there for one reason. Karen sat at the front like always, but her usual smug confidence was cracking. She didn't look at me once. I waited until the open floor. I'm here to officially report a property damage incident, I said. Karen cleared her throat. This is not the appropriate. I have video evidence. Recorded on my property, full face, full action, no questions. A low buzz went through the room. I pulled out a printed screenshot, Karen mid-swipe, screwdriver in hand, her expression cold and calculated. I slid it across the table. She reached for it, but someone else got there first, Mr. Henderson from down the block. He squinted, then passed it along. A gasp followed. Karen tried to stand. This is a violation of protocol. No, I cut in. What's a violation is keying someone's vehicle and pretending nothing happened. This isn't a guess. Karen, it's you. There's audio, there's timestamp. There's a clear shot of your face. The room was silent. Then a voice from the back. Wait, is that the video from Reddit? Another. She had her dog with her. Karen's voice cracked. This is slander. This is all fake. Edited. I'm willing to let the police decide, I said. In fact, I've already filed a report. They'll be requesting footage from the HOA security cams next, just in case. That landed like a punch. She sat down, her mouth opened, but no words came out. The president, a guy named Ben, who usually acted like Karen's shadow, finally spoke. Need to call an emergency board session? He muttered. This is serious. No one objected. The meeting ended early. As I left, neighbors gave me nods. Some even smiled. One lady whispered, "Good for you," like I'd just punched a school bully, but I wasn't done yet. That night, I received an anonymous message through Reddit. You're not the only one Karen's targeted. You should see what she did to... My backyard. Attached was a photo. A fence sawed halfway down. Boards missing, paint splattered. Suddenly, my car didn't seem like an isolated incident anymore. It was a pattern, and I was about to expose all of it. The photo from Reddit didn't leave my head all night. Someone's backyard fence, deliberately wrecked, chopped unevenly like someone took a saw to it and gave up halfway through. Paint splattered down the side in streaks, orange, like a warning. No explanation, no context. Just a message. You're not alone. I messaged the user back, asked if we could talk. They didn't reply. The next morning my email inbox had 5 new messages, all anonymous, all from different addresses, all with similar stories. One woman said Karen had fined her 3 times in 1 month for decorative lights that had supposedly violated HOA policy, except no such policy existed. Another man claimed his garden was mysteriously trampled days after he refused to vote for Karen's budget proposal. A third had his holiday decorations torn down while he was out of town, no security footage. But he remembered seeing Karen walking past his house that evening with a trash bag. Every message ended the same way. I didn't think I could prove it, but now they had me. They had proof. By noon, I had assembled a digital folder labeled Karen Evidence. It wasn't just the video anymore. It was a list, a pattern, and I wasn't the only target. I printed out copies, made USB backups, Dropped one off with the HOA board president, Ben. Another went to the police station with my formal complaint. I didn't need revenge. Just needed truth. That would do the work for me. But Karen wasn't going down without a fight. That evening, a notice showed up taped to my door. Urgent notice of HOA violation, resident at 48 West. Haven is in breach of HOA policy regarding unauthorized security cameras, neighborhood harassment, and reputational damage to the HOA board. It was signed by Karen, no surprise, but also with an odd flourish. Acting president, Ben's name was nowhere on the page. Something shifted in my gut. I marched straight down the street to Ben's house. He opened the door slow, like he'd been expecting me. He looked exhausted, shirt wrinkled, red in the face. She forced a vote this morning, he muttered before I could even speak. Called an emergency board meeting while you were at work. Said your video was doctored and that you were inciting a neighborhood smear campaign. Next thing I know, she's voted in as acting president. Can she even do that? Ben shook his head. No, but unless someone challenges her and forces a community-wide vote, it sticks, and no one wants to be the next target. That was it. Karen was burning down the neighborhood just to save her throne, and she was doubling down. The vandalism, the lies, the fake notices. It wasn't about the car. It never was. It was control. She had been doing this for years, one petty war at a time, quiet enough to go unnoticed, careful enough to avoid cameras. But now, finally, her fingerprints were everywhere, and this time, she wasn't going to scare me into silence. That night, I did what she feared most. I went public, not just on Reddit. I uploaded a 10-minute video to YouTube. No filters, no music, just the raw footage, the screenshot timeline, the other neighbors' stories with their permission, and a calm narration. The title? This HOA president keyed my car and lied about it. Here's what else she's done. By morning, the video had 200,000 views. By afternoon, it had 1 million. And by evening, Karen came to my door. She stood on my porch like nothing had happened. No hoodie now, no sunglasses to hide behind. Just Karen, in a stiff floral blouse, pearl earrings, and that thin smile she wore like armor. Her dog wasn't with her this time, just a clipboard. Of course, I think we need to talk, she said, calm as ever. I didn't move, didn't even step aside. I'm not sure what there is to talk about. She shifted slightly, clearly trying to keep her voice measured. There's been a misunderstanding. I crossed my arms. You keyed my car. That video doesn't show the full story. My laugh was short and sharp. Is there a director's cut where you don't destroy private property? She didn't appreciate that. Her lips twitched, but she stayed composed. I'd like to offer a solution, she said, lifting the clipboard like it contained the keys to peace. Something to put all of this behind us. For the sake of the neighborhood, I didn't touch it. You're trying to negotiate with someone you vandalized. She lowered the clipboard. It wasn't personal. You've made this very public. If you retract the videos, issue a clarification that the footage was taken out of context. We can have the HOA cover your car repairs. No permanent mark on your record. We all move on. You mean lie? I mean protect the reputation of this community. I stared at her. For a moment, I tried to figure it out. Was this desperation, denial, or did she really believe she was still in control? Then I noticed the twitch in her jaw, the slight tremble in her fingers as she gripped the clipboard. She wasn't here to offer peace. She was here because she was losing. You're scared? I said. Karen blinked. Excuse me. You're not here because of the video. You're here because people are talking, because you've spent years intimidating this neighborhood, and now it's unraveling. I'm just the spark. But everyone else? They've got fuel. Her jaw locked tight. Leave my property, I said. She hesitated, and then, for the first time, her mask cracked. This will not end well for you, she whispered. You think these people will stand with you? They're cowards. They'll panic and run the moment things get messy. I tilted my head. Then let's get messy. She turned and walked away. No threats, no final words. Just the clip of her heels against the concrete. I closed the door. That night, I opened my email again. 22 new messages. Some were just support neighbors saying they'd seen what happened, that they believed me. But others, they had screenshots, photos, HOA notices from years ago, with absurd violations. One man had been fined for putting a non-regulation flower pot on his porch. Another had been written up for parking in his own driveway. Like me. It had never been about the rules. It was about control. I compiled everything, organized it, wrote a timeline, attached every file, every message, every name with their permission. Then I submitted it all to the HOA Oversight Committee, downtown, the one that legally audits HOA conduct when complaints reach a certain threshold. That night, I posted a second video, shorter, tighter, clearer. Karen's reign, a pattern of abuse in Glenwood Heights. HOA, no jokes, no drama, just facts. And by morning, I had a knock at the door. This time, it wasn't Karen. It was two men in suits, and they had questions. The two men introduced themselves as investigators from the county HOA Oversight Agency. Their badges hung from neck chains, serious faces under dim porch lights. We've received multiple complaints regarding Glenwood Heights, one said. Your video, plus several reports, have triggered a formal inquiry. I nodded, feeling the weight of months of frustration finally reaching an official stage. They asked for copies of everything. I had videos, messages, photos, notices. I handed over the USB drive I'd prepared. We'll need your full cooperation. This may get messy, the other warned. I promised to help in any way I could. Over the next few days, the investigation unfolded like a slow-motion thriller. The agency subpoenaed HOA records. Neighbors were interviewed confidentially. More victims came forward, some afraid to speak openly until they saw the video. They told stories of petty fines, intimidation tactics, and unauthorized inspections. Karen, meanwhile, grew quieter. Her social media disappeared entirely. Rumors spread that she was fighting to keep control, calling emergency meetings to intimidate the board. Then came the phone call that made my blood run cold. A private number. "Stop this," a low voice whispered. "You're poking a bear?" I tried to trace it, but it vanished. I didn't tell the investigators yet. They needed hard proof, not threats. One evening, the investigators came by again, looking grave. "We found irregularities in HOA finances," the lead said. "Some expenses tied to Karen's personal accounts. Gifts, repairs, even trips." My jaw dropped. "This is bigger than vandalism," the second said. "There might be fraud." That night, I thought about the damage to my car. The dents, the scratches, it was only a symptom of something deeper. Karen's obsession with control was tied to money, power, and cover-ups. The next HOA board meeting was canceled without notice. I got a call from Bentha, real president. "They want her out," he said, "but she's got dirt on half the board. She's threatening to expose it if they push too hard." The neighborhood was a powder keg. Then, one afternoon, my mailbox was smashed to bits. No note, no warning, just destruction. I showed the investigators. They grew more serious. "This is retaliation," they said. "You're in the thick of it now." I realized Karen wasn't just fighting me anymore. She was fighting everyone who dared stand up. The line between justice and chaos blurred, but I wasn't backing down. Not when everything I cared about was at stake. The tension in Glenwood Heights was thick enough to slice with a knife. After the mailbox attack, it wasn't just my property anymore. Neighbors were watching, whispering behind closed doors, wondering who'd be next. Karen was desperate. That much was clear, but she was clever too. The kind of cunning that's bred from years of running a neighborhood like her. Personal kingdom. Then something unexpected happened. Ben, the real HOA president, the man caught in Karen's on my door one evening, looking nervous. "We need to talk," he said, glancing over his shoulder. Inside, he explained everything. Karen had been blackmailing board members for years, threatening to expose minor personal secrets, some trivial, some damaging enough to ruin reputations. The moment anyone tried to challenge her, she'd leak information, ruin friendships, and turn the board against itself. But now, her tactics were unraveling. "There's one thing she hasn't accounted for," Ben said quietly. "Me." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were emails, recorded phone calls, and even photos of Karen meeting with a local contractor, someone who had been billing the HOA for work that was never done. "We have proof of her using HOA funds for personal gain. It's criminal." My mind raced. This was bigger than anyone thought. The vandalism, the threats, the smears, all part of a scheme to keep power and silence dissent. Ben looked me in the eye. "I want to help you finish this." I wasn't sure if I could trust him, but at this point, anyone willing to stand against Karen was an ally. The next day, armed with the new evidence, we met with the investigators. They were stunned. This could lead to charges beyond just property damage. One said, embezzlement, fraud, maybe even conspiracy. The neighborhood started to rally quietly. People who had been silent out of fear were stepping forward, encouraged by the mounting evidence and the promise of real change. But Karen wasn't done. That same week, my mailbox was smashed to bits. No note, no warning, just brutal destruction. Then, someone keyed the side of Ben's truck, the word snitch etched in large letters. It was clear. Karen was fighting back with everything she had. I doubled down, installed extra cameras, organized neighborhood watch meetings, and documented every incident meticulously. The board finally called an emergency HOA meeting. This time, a proper one with a full agenda to address Karen's conduct. On the day of the meeting, the clubhouse was packed. Tension crackled in the air like static. Karen arrived late, her usual smugness replaced with a guarded look. She knew this was the endgame. Ben presented the evidence. Photos, financial records, witness statements. The room watched in silence as her empire crumbled piece by piece. Then Karen took the floor. She denied everything, claimed it was a coordinated attack to ruin her reputation, tried to twist facts and confuse the crowd, but it was too late. The vote was unanimous. Karen was removed as HOA president. The county investigators were notified to take legal action. She gathered her things to leave. She shot me a look, not of anger, but pure defeat. The neighborhood exhaled, finally free. But just when it seemed like the nightmare was over, Ben pulled me aside. "There's one more thing," he whispered. "Something we just uncovered. A hidden account. Thousands of dollars. transferred out of HOA funds, and the trail led straight to Ben's voice dropped to a whisper. The hidden account. It's not just money missing. It's evidence of something much worse. He handed me a folder filled with bank statements, wire transfers, and emails. The money flowed from the HOA's accounts to a shell company, one tied to a real estate developer, a developer known for aggressive, shady deals, one who had been eyeing Glenwood Heights for months. Karen hadn't just been embezzling funds for personal luxury. She'd been sabotaging the neighborhood to force a sell-off. Every broken fence, every petty fine, every act of intimidation, it was part of a plan to drive residents away, lower property values, and let the developers swoop in with offers no one could refuse. It was all a scheme. I stared at the papers in disbelief. The car king, the mailbox smashing, it wasn't random spite. It was calculated destruction. Ben nodded. She was in on it from the start, and if we hadn't exposed her, this community might have been lost. The truth hit me harder than any dent or scratch. My car had been collateral damage in a war over our homes. But we weren't done yet. With the investigators and a growing coalition of neighbors, we presented the new evidence to the county prosecutors. They acted fast. Karen was arrested on charges of fraud, conspiracy, and destruction of property. The developer's shady practices were also exposed, leading to a halt on planned developments. The news spread like wildfire. Glenwood Heights was no longer just another HOA nightmare story. It became a symbol of community resilience, of fighting back against corruption. And as for me, my car still bore the scars, the deep, angry key marks, the dent near the rear wheel, but every time I looked at it, I didn't see damage. I saw a battle scar, a reminder that sometimes standing up to a bully isn't easy, but it's necessary. The neighborhood came together like never before. New board members were elected, all vetted and committed to transparency, and Karen, she's serving time. Justice had arrived, but the most unexpected part, a few weeks after everything settled, I got a message from an unknown number. Thanks for standing up. We all owe you. A neighbor. Because in the end, this wasn't just my fight. It was ours.